What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode here of the Renegade Roundtable podcast. I am Jeffrey Kirby, and obviously, it's been a little bit since we've been on here. We took last week off for Thanksgiving. I do hope that everyone did enjoy their Thanksgiving. I know I sure as hell did. It was fun to just chill back, eat. For the most part, it seemed like a lot of the places weren't working, so it was cool to see a lot of the people not have to work on Thanksgiving. That's always nice to see, so people can hang out with their families, and it was also nice to just be able to relax and watch football as well. So, but other than that, how's everyone doing tonight? We got a lot to get into tonight. This is going to be a very emotional show for me, and what I mean by that is things on both ends, between the Steelers and what's going on with them, and what's going on with Major League Baseball itself with the lockout that just happened, or that came out earlier this morning. What's up, Marcus? There's a lot that's kind of getting on my nerves. Some of it has to do with the fans, in terms of the Steelers stuff. Some of it has to do with Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Some of it has to do with the media. Some of it just has to do with the overall play and the coaching in itself. So this is going to be a very emotional show when we get to going with this. And let's get started. I'll go ahead. I'm going to start off with the Steelers here. So you go in on Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals, who already beat you once, and you look at that going into that game. You're like, okay, you lost to the Chargers in a nail biter. You came back in the fourth quarter and it looked good, and then there was a blown coverage by possibly Trey Norwood that basically sealed the game, and then that very last drive just looked absolutely horrible when it came to where the fact that left side of the offensive line literally could not block a simple stunt. It's a stunt that it was easy for a high school offensive lineman to block, but in the NFL, it's just a simple D tackle, DN, in, out, kind of one of those deals, and you couldn't even stop one of those on two separate occasions. That made it third in a million miles. And then you go into this game against Cincinnati, who you lost to 24-10, and yes, you could have made the excuse that you did not have Minkah Fitzpatrick nor Alex Highsmith in that game, and the defense looked absolutely terrible. Well, guess what happened in this game? The defense looked worse. How could that happen? How could a defense that, when we look at the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers itself, what are the Pittsburgh Steelers known for? They are known for the steel curtain. They are known for smash mouth football. And that's not happening now. You don't see the Steelers defense. When is the last time you've seen the Steelers defense give up 40-plus points in 2 consecutive weeks? What the hell is going on in Pittsburgh? This is not the defense that we all anticipated on seeing this year. And yes, I get it. We've gone through COVID all throughout this year, something we really did not have to deal with last year in terms of our team. We're dealing with TJ Watt now. We dealt with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Who else there's someone else I feel like I'm forgetting about is Ben Roethlisberger, but he's not on defense. He's been dealing with COVID. So we've been dealing with that. But it's the NFL. Next man up. This is absolutely unacceptable. And I don't care what the national media had to say about this Pittsburgh Steelers team going into this year. We were supposed to be absolutely terrible. There were people legitimately saying we could go 3-14. And obviously, we're not, right now, we are, what are we off the top of my head, like 5-1 or something like that? Well, I'm losing my train of, yes, we're 5-1 right now. And you're still fighting for arguably the playoffs right now. You have a huge game going on Sunday against Baltimore. But first, I'm not done with that Cincinnati game. Because that was just absolutely piss poor effort from the jump. that very first drive that we saw on defense, you looked at that and said, holy hell, we are going to be in for a long one. And it sure as hell was. And then you get the announcers, they're talking about how Ben hasn't thrown a pick in however many snaps or games, and then what does he do two plays later? Throws a pick. And then what does he do later on in the game? Throws a pick 6 to Mike Hilton. You want to talk about salt on the wound? That is the definition of salt on the wound. Especially with and just in general with his defense and just team in general. Remember earlier this year, I forget who it was on Cincinnati's defense where they talked about how the Steelers gave up? That's exactly what seemed like it happened here. I don't care that we scored that bullshit touchdown, and I apologize for my language. You're going to get a lot of this out of me today because this whole entire thing that's going on with this Pittsburgh Steelers team, the fan base, the media, is just getting freaking ridiculous. We're going to get into what Ryan Clark said here momentarily, and I agree with every damn word that he just said. But you look at this, you look at that, at the effort there. Let's just go back. And I want to get into Devin Bush on something too, because we'll get into that here in a little bit as well. But 41-10, and if it wasn't for a touchdown that happened in garbage time, you wouldn't have even scored a damn touchdown, and it would have been 41-3. This is the first time since 2009 that this Pittsburgh Steelers team has been swept by the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's be honest. Does Cincinnati have the better quarterback right now? Yes, I would say so. I hate to admit it, but yes. Actually, Joe Burrow, I like Joe Burrow a lot. Joe Mixon literally had a career day against you. They have a good wide receiver core. I will give them that. But their offensive line, I think they've played better than what was expected, but it wasn't. They're not a game breaker. And if you want to say TJ Watt is not 100% at the time, okay, maybe, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. If he's on the field, you need to play well. Simple as that. I don't care, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite when it comes to this, because this was brought to my attention. And earlier this week when I made my reaction video about TJ Watt getting COVID. And they were saying, you can't be a hypocrite because a lot of people were trashing Myles Garrett after he got COVID and he did not play well at the end of the year. And you're right. And I can't be a hypocrite. So if he goes out there and only has one sack or something in the next 4 or 5 games, I can't say, oh, it was just COVID. I mean, let's get into Ryan Clark. This was Ryan Clark earlier this week on Get Up on ESPN, courtesy of ESPN. This is what Ryan Clark had to say.
That they're not my beloved Steelers anymore. Nobody's scared to play this team. There's absolutely no physicality. There's no energy defensively. There's no tone setters. You have one of the best playmaking free safeties in football at Minka Fitzpatrick, and you know what he is? He's a 5th linebacker because you won't tackle anybody in the run. Joe Mixon is flexing, throwing football into the stands. You know why? Because y'all don't scare nobody. Because it ain't about putting your face mask on somebody else's face mask. It's not about upholding what Joe Green did, what Lambert did. It's not about doing what James Harrison did, Casey Hampton, James Ferrier, Troy Polamalu. Those days are gone. We want to be cute, right? We want to make videos. We want to do TikToks. We want to dance in the locker room. We want to be the team that everybody loves to be around. We want to make jokes. We want to smile. We want to have fun. Pittsburgh football ain't about having fun. Pittsburgh football is about dominating people on the field because of your physicality. But that ain't what y'all want. What y'all want to do is y'all want to show up and y'all want to live on the back of legends. Don't nobody care about that no more. Right? Young people aren't respectful to the past. In the past, Pittsburgh was something. This Pittsburgh defense ain't jack. And I ain't talking about Jack Lambert. I ain't talking about Jack Ham. I'm talking about Jack and you know the rest of the word. Y'all ain't that. And so now, when Pittsburgh shows up to the stadiums, people like Joe Burrow, people like Joe Mixon, people like T. Higgins, you know what they do? They call their girlfriends, they call their wives, and they say, baby, you got to show up to this game. You know why? Because we're going to win fantasy football for somebody because they ain't stopping the nosebleeds. You better change something, you better do something, or this will be Mike Tomlin's first losing season.
So there is that. There was Ryan Clark earlier this week on Get Up. I agree with every damn word he just said. Look at what he said. He's talking about how, in one part of it, where this team nowadays is living off of the past of the team, the past history, and living off the history of other players. Here's a little fun fact. Let's go back into time. 2005. I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Joey Porter. He talked about how he was getting irritated and basically getting pissed off that it seemed like every year they were bringing back the old 70s teams and they were celebrating those, and he was like, hell no. We need to win another damn Super Bowl. We can't live off of those. We can't continue to live off those guys and live off the history of them. We need to bring one now. And what did they do? We all know the story about that 2005 season. They go on to win the Super Bowl, first team to win it from the 6th seed. This team right now is exactly what he just said too. They're worried about, and again, I can't be a hypocrite because everyone bashed Juju about the whole TikTok stuff. But maybe, just maybe, and then you get Jace Claypool talking about, oh, we need music at practice. Chase, do me a favor. Shut the hell up. And it looks like you need to either get in the weight room because you're as soft as baby powder, or you need to get on the jugs machine because you got hands of Butterfingers. Right now, this team is just, it seems like they simply don't care. There are certain guys that, yes, they absolutely do care. I so 100% believe that Ben Roethlisberger is still, he still has the mentality that he wants to win. Absolutely. TJ Watt, we absolutely know that he's a Watt. He has that Watt mentality that non-stop until the game is over. Cam Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick, I believe in those guys. But then you get some of the other guys where they're just, you don't know, they just simply are just there. Devin Bush. And this is something that we've all been critical of. We've all have been critical of Devin Bush this year. He's not looking like the linebacker that we drafted early in 2019, where we traded up for the first time since Troy Polamalu. What's up, Angel 2? I see you in the comments as well. And you can say maybe he's being a little tentative with his knee. It seems like there's 3 guarantees: death, taxes, and me mentioning that I'm from Cleveland, Ohio in one of these, and whether it's a podcast or on one of the reaction videos. And obviously, I get stuck talking. I will occasionally have to talk, or I will talk Browns with some of my close friends, just because I love talking football, and they'll ask my opinion on something because for the most part, it seems like they respect my opinion on it. But I kind of said the same thing about Odell Beckham to them, where I said 2021, and this was back long ago. Way before the season even began, I said 2021 may not be the year that you want to really judge how is he going to be. It's going to be 2022. And that's the same for Devin Bush. Because if you remember, Devin Bush, he tore that ACL in that Week 6 game against Cleveland. Odell tore his the very next week against Cincinnati. And you saw Devin Bush was able to get back before, and he was back on week 1, and it took Odell to, I think it was week 3 or week 4, somewhere in that range. And yes, every person's body or acts different and reacts different. But yes, we can still be critical of some of his play and maybe some of his effort. But I don't necessarily think we can completely write him off just yet. Now, if you go into 2022 and he's still looking like that same player that we've been seeing this year, then yes. Then you could go ahead and we're going to really need to consider what the hell we're going to be doing at the middle linebacker position. Because going back from when he played at Michigan, which, by the way, yes, y'all could go ahead and give it to me that my Ohio State lost to Michigan. Go ahead and give it to me as well. But he was, when you looked at Devin Bush, he screamed Pittsburgh Steeler middle linebacker. He was a 4-3 guy. He was a guy that was going to be able to move. He was a thumper, and you needed a middle linebacker. And I'm not hating on the pick. I was very excited about the pick because I thought that was a true need for that team. But, and I remember there were rumors saying that they could have possibly went Dwayne Haskins, drafted him. Well, obviously we didn't need to draft him. We still have him now, but he's going to be long gone after this year. But I feel like a lot of the fans like to get hypocritical with themselves. And I guess in a way too, you can say it's not hypocritical if you're saying one thing, but then you have to reevaluate yourself. You reevaluate how you're looking at things and say, okay, maybe my opinion does change. That's okay. But it's fans that do, like for an example, when I talked about the Myles Garrett versus TJ Watt with the COVID situation, that'd be hypocriticism if we bashed Myles Garrett for not playing well down the stretch last year, and then we don't do the same thing for TJ Watt. I mean, there is that. But just overall with this team, let's look at the stats here. For Ben Roethlisberger, let's just start off with him. 24 of 41, 263 yards. Most of those could have been in garbage time. 1 touchdown, 2 picks, one of them leading to an interception at the end of the half. Najee Harris, 8 carries for 23 yards. 8 carries for 23 yards. Deontay Johnson, he had 9 receptions for 95 yards. How much of that, and he did have some crucial catches. He is one of the positives, one of the very few positives coming out of this game is that Deontay Johnson is continuing to prove that he is wide receiver 1 here. Chase Claypool, he had 3 for 82. One of them was on that 41-yard bomb. But other than that, he did not look good. He should have had a catch in the end zone. That ended up not being a catch because, again, he's softer than butter. Pat Freiermuth, 4 for 40 on 4 targets. I have no issue with him. And then you get on defense, where it just absolutely looked pathetic. Joe Schobert, he led the league, or he led the game in tackles. But talking about Joe Schobert for a second, I understood once he got traded to Pittsburgh. It seemed like there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, we just got ourselves an absolute stud," and this, that, and the third. Is he a good football player? Yes. But I think a lot of Steelers fans overrated him a little bit. I understood that he could make a lot of tackles, but then I also did realize that he's going to miss a lot of tackles as well. There was a reason why Cleveland didn't want to pay him. There was a reason why Jacksonville was willing to give up on him, or willing to give him up. There was a reason for that. And obviously, it's not just the defense, or it's not just, certain players. It's the whole entire defense. And what's up, Daniel? I see you in the comments as well. Although this week, for you guys, it's slim pickings for you guys. It almost kind of seems like you would want Pittsburgh to win this week, if you want to help your case for the or if you want to help your case at all. But you guys have a whole lot of issues as well. You and me have discussed this on numerous occasions. But again, TJ Watt, he was pretty much eliminated from the game. And why was that, too? Scheme. Cincinnati did a very good job of saying, hey, we're not going to allow TJ Watt to wreak havoc. They implemented chip blocks. They implemented the, just running the football away from him. I'm finally home from work. I'm on time to watch. Hey, yeah, shout out to the FedEx guys, non-paid testimonial. But some of those delivery guys y'all are going to start getting slammed. But and there were some things that Cincinnati was doing that I've been preaching since the Green Bay game, that Pittsburgh needed to start doing with the offense. Dan Moore, he definitely did not have his greatest game either. Chuck Okorafor, we've had his issues with it. We've had issues with pretty much everyone on the offensive line. Steeler Freaks, TJ was not 100%, not counting COVID. But here's my thing on that. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. If TJ Watt was out there, I truly believe if he is out there, he needs to play well. And I think part of it too was, again, it goes back to the scheme, the schematics of what Cincinnati was doing. But then this is the issue that I run into. Where's the adjustments? The adjustments were not made. It seemed like, and if you go back for those, and I'm going off topic for a second, that Ohio State-Michigan game, and I'm going to reference this for a reason again. Ryan Day's supposed to be one of the best second half coaches in all of college football. The adjustments he makes and all that. And it seemed like there was no damn adjustment. Michigan, for the first time in a decade, out-assed you. And simply with this game, too, with Cincinnati out-assed you. They wanted it more. Simple as that. That is not Pittsburgh Steelers football. Do you think that James Harrison, James Farrier, Troy Polamalu, those guys, Casey Hampton, Larry Foote, Lamar Woodley, do you think that they would accept this right now? Hell no. He was limping on the sideline. The trainers were looking ahead at his knee. No excuse but facts. But yeah. I mean, and that's the thing though too, is I do understand that TJ Watt is the most important. Obviously, he is the most important player on this defense by far. And I don't think that's any argument. You can make any arguments about that. But with this team, or with this defense as well, with TJ, if he is actually hurting, and you get to a certain point where you're down 31-3 or something like that, like you were at the end of the half, I don't think I would have played him that second half. I think I would have allowed him to get rest. And I know that's not how Mike Tomlin, they're still thinking we're going to find a way to win this football game. But I think in all honesty, you got to be smart with your team. And this is something that Browns fans have been saying about Baker Mayfield for the longest time. Daniel, I know in the comments, there's been plenty of arguments because he's a Browns fan himself. But it's the same thing with here. And you got an important stretch coming up here with the Steelers. You have a brutal schedule where you're going up against Baltimore. You're going to have to end up facing Baltimore twice. You got a Thursday night game against Minnesota that people are... there could be some people that don't... When they just stat watch, they're going to sleep on Minnesota because they're under 500. If I'm not mistaken, or close to 500. And they could easily... Kirk Cousins has looked good this year. And they could easily just roll you over. Then you get Kansas City. You're going to have to play them. They're seeming like they're going to be back. Baker Mayfield and the Browns, they're going to come with a vengeance as well. You have a brutal schedule coming up. And if you want any sliver of hope to get in the playoffs, you're going to need to get your act together. Quick, fast, in a damn hurry. You think the Browns went out. Well, I also think that is complete nonsense. in my opinion as well. I mean, I think you guys will win this week against your bye as long as no one else gets hurt. Unless something else pops up. Obviously, we don't want that either. Hunter, there we go. Now we just got one of my group chats just going. Hunter says the Browns aren't winning out. There's no shot. Yeah, you guys' schedule is just as brutal. You guys have Baltimore, the Raiders, which that could be a winnable game, but that also could be a game where you could get steamrolled. You got Green Bay at Green Bay on Christmas Day. Aaron Rodgers doesn't care about his damn family. He doesn't care about Christmas. He'll steamroll your ass. And then you get Pittsburgh again. That's going to be a very interesting game because Cleveland is going to be looking to get revenge. And then Ben Roethlisberger could also be, this is going to be the last time he's going to play his hometown team or the team that he, in Cleveland. And then you get Cincinnati. So that's a brutal schedule for you guys in itself. Daniel says he has confidence in his team. I respect the fact that you have confidence. I mean, hell, yet again, I don't have much. Well, let me say, Hunter, I think I could say he probably doesn't have much confidence in the Browns right now. And right now, for the Steelers, I don't know how much confidence I have with the way that we've seen this defense play the last 2 weeks. With the way that it just seems like players are more worried about having music in practice rather than really working on perfecting their craft and working into the month of December, which, by the way, once again, what has been the trend of the Pittsburgh Steelers the last few years? The month of December, that used to be the year that we come up, we get hot right before the playoffs. You get hot at the perfect time. Instead, we get colder than a witch's titty on a brass bra. I mean, there's, I don't know. What do you want to put? Do you want to put that on coaching? Because you could very well have issues with coaching, and that's another thing I need to get into when it comes to the fans of Pittsburgh. People, I'm getting sick and tired of everyone just saying, "Oh, get rid of Mike Tomlin, get rid of Mike Tomlin, get rid of Mike Tomlin." But then when we hit you with the, "Oh, who are you going to replace him with?" They get all butthurt and say, "Oh, here he comes." I'm going to say, Mike Tomlin should get fired. And here comes the, "Who are you going to replace him with?" crowd. Well, there you go. Because you act like Coach A, we all know that Pittsburgh doesn't fire coaches. And B, you act like great coaches just come off of trees. I don't, some of you guys don't think with your head. You guys don't think logically. You guys just start spewing off a bunch of bullshit and you look dumb as hell saying some of this stuff. Give me the replacement. A realistic replacement for Mike Tomlin. Because that crowd is going to stay quiet. That's the issue. Steeler freaks. They have given up 576 yards in the last 3 games. Barry Sanders' number. Hard to be confident. There you go. And that's another thing. Eric Bieniemy, Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich. Eric Bieniemy, no. I would love to have Eric Bieniemy. I'd be okay with any of those guys. I don't see Byron Leftwich. I mean, he did play with Pittsburgh. But I don't see him wanting to leave Tampa Bay, especially right now. Eric Bieniemy, if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm sorry, I'm never leaving Kansas City. Unless you really want to prove yourself, but you're a little bit older of a coach too. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm sticking with one of the best minds in football in Andy Reid. And you have a quarterback that could go down as one of the best of all time. I wouldn't want to leave that team. There's just, when it comes to this team and when it comes to the fans, it's as dumb as Antonio Brown having a fake vaccination card and doing all that, which that news also came out today as well. Nothing will happen until 2024. Tomlin is safe until then. My thing is, too, when we look at Mike Tomlin, now yes, you can make certain arguments for Mike Tomlin. One of the I had a discussion earlier this year with my guy Jay on where we talked about the identity and how much of importance does Mike Tomlin have, or what is his identity with his team, or how much of a importance is he really on this team, and you look and say, hey, I mean, it seems like outside of trying to spew out a thesaurus of words, of a dictionary of words, I mean, he always has that bland stare in the camera, and obviously he's always cool. He's gonna be cool, calm, and collected until something really irritates him. But then you make the argument of, when it comes to that, I look at a guy like John Harbaugh, where I hate Baltimore to death, but I'll be honest, I respect the absolute hell out of John Harbaugh. When you look at John Harbaugh, he was a special teams coach, and that he's extremely, he emphasizes the small details on everything, and he has the identity of, they had 20-something guys on IR, and if I'm not mistaken, they're number 1 or number 2 in the AFC, and they're 8-3. Are they the best football team right now? Hell no. But you know what they've been doing too? They've been finding ways to win, and their culture wins. Lamar Jackson last week just threw 4 interceptions and still found a way to win. I mean, what is there to say to that? If you're able to throw 4 interceptions and still find a way to win, only scoring 16 points, I mean, again, you could also say, yeah, you're also facing, the Cleveland Browns or whatever. Yeah, and they have their own issues as well. But, and that's also bad on Cleveland itself. If the fact that if you get 4 interceptions and you're not able to capitalize on any of them, that's an issue. 3 playoff wins in 12 years. He needs a team that goes far into the playoffs. Better yet, a ring. And that's something, too, that we can discuss when it comes to Mike Tomlin. You can discuss and say, hey, Mike Tomlin came in here. He was a defensive backs coach. He was a part of that 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl. He learned, he's a great defensive-minded coach. He was that young guy, and he did inherit that dominant defense with James Harrison, James Ferrier, Larry Foote, Ryan Clark, Troy Polamalu, and them boys. You were able to inherit that. But then what happened when those guys phased out? Then what started to happen? Now the failures started to come in. If I'm not mistaken, you made the AFC Championship in 2016. All right, cool. Then you get obliterated by New England. All right, whatever. 2017, you go 13-3. You lose in the first round to Jacksonville. 2018, you were 6-2-1. You end up 9-8-1. 2019, that one was a good year. For the Mike Tomlin or the I Love Mike Tomlin crew, where you could say you lost Ben Roethlisberger for the year. That was a lost cause. Hell, I even thought it was a lost cause too, and you were 1 game away from making the playoffs. Although in the month of December, again, things went downhill. 2020, start off 11-0. You go 1-5 in your last 6. And then in 2021, we're seeing. Let's go through the wins here real quick, or let's go through the schedule real quick. Let's just here. Let me pull it up for a second. All right, schedule. So you go in Buffalo, you win in Buffalo. All right, cool. You're thinking you just beat Buffalo, who's a team that, some people, including myself, I actually thought Josh Allen was going to win MVP this year. Guy that just got paid $200-something million. A guy that, or a team that could very well be the contender in the Super Bowl this year for the AFC. And then you lose to Las Vegas, and then you lose to Cincinnati, then you lose to Green Bay. Tough losses. You start off 1-3, but it's not the first time he's been 1-3. All right, cool. But then what are we starting to see as well? You start to see, and I'll get to you guys' comments here in a second as well. Denver, you start off well. Second half, y'all play conservative, and it takes a game-winning interception from James Pierre in the back of the end zone to win that game. Cool. Seattle, again, You go up 14-0, then you allow them to get back in the game with Geno Smith at quarterback, and it takes T.J. Watt making a heroic play in the best moment possible to win that game. Then you have the bye week. Then you go against Pittsburgh, or then you go against Cleveland, and that you lose your you lose Chris Boswell. I'm losing my mind. You lose Chris Boswell. All right, that win was a good win, even though you only scored 15 points, but the defense only gave up 10. They played great. Cool. Chicago. Let's be honest here. If it wasn't for the refs absolutely bailing us out, most likely lose to that game to a rookie. Then Detroit, the game I was at. You tie. Get tied to you tie to the damn Lions. Then you go in LA, and then you come all the way back, and then you have that blunder in that last drive, and then last week was just absolutely abysmal. Parker says, "Don't talk to me. Mike Tomlin is overrated. The Ravens remind me of last year's Steelers team that she was going to drop, and then Bortles and Tebow." Yeah. I think you missed it, Daniel, too. I went off on Claypool about the music and the practice. That absolutely was ridiculous. Yes, the music actually made me laugh out loud. Yes, You're worried about music? Instead of worrying about figuring out how you can perfect your craft, figuring out what works or what's going to work against Baltimore, you're worried about listening to Drake. You're worried about listening to God knows whoever you want to listen to. Give me a damn break. And it's clearly starting to show where the priority is with this team too. And what Steeler Freak said, Bortles and Tebow. Yes, that defense that you played in 2017 against Jacksonville, that defense was great. We'll be out, but we got to remember that offense was absolutely ridiculous as well. And there was a reason why you went 13-3. There was no reason to lose that game. You lost to Blake Bortles. And then Tim Tebow, good God, I think if I mention his name one more time, Skip Bayless is going to pop out like a jack in a box and start talking to me about how great he is. But there's just so much that needs to change quick, fast, in a hurry with this damn football team, or else it is going to look bad. One more thing I need to discuss real quick when it comes to the Steelers, and then we're going to get into the absolute abysmal news that we got today about Major League Baseball. But when we talk about, I saw a comment last night from someone on Twitter talking about how this team is not going to draft Kenny Pickett. We're not drafting a quarterback in this draft. Here's the issue that I have with some people with some of the fans on Twitter with Steelers. A lot of people don't realize, they just think, we'll just get Aaron Rodgers. We'll get Russell Wilson. We'll get Deshaun Watson. We're going to get one of those guys. Cool, no problem. We don't got to worry about drafting Kenny Pickett. Y'all do realize also that all it takes is, hey, Kevin Colbert's calling about Pittsburgh. Nope. Simple as that. Done. Because they all have no trade clauses. They want to waive it to come here? Cool. Great. That's wonderful. Do I think Aaron Rodgers just absolutely solves all our issues? Absolutely not. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to solve how bad this defense is. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to solve some of the piss-poor effort that we've been seeing. Now, he might be able to extend some of the plays. It might open up the playbook a little bit more. But it's not going to absolutely solve everything. I think another thing, it's going to take more time to gel with this offensive line and to continue to say, is Dan Moore a guy that we could trust at left tackle for years to come? Is Kendrick Green a guy that we can trust under center for years to come as well? Those are all things that we need to take into consideration as well. And it just seems like a lot of people just think it's so easy. We'll just trade for Aaron Rodgers. This isn't Madden. This is real life. Some people are just absolutely dumb. I apologize. Some of you guys are absolute dumbasses. Not you. I don't think any of you guys, because I don't think I've completely disagreed with anyone, but just some people that I see on Twitter just look like complete jackasses when it comes to this. Now, let's get into the Major League Baseball, because this is the absolute worst thing that could have happened for Major League Baseball. Did we all expect it to happen? Yeah, we all expected it. Now, when it comes to this lockout in itself, some of the things that are going into this is just ridiculous. Now, if they don't miss any time, if they're able to start opening day in March, then cool. Then it wasn't really an issue. But if this continues on, if this leaks into the season, that is the absolute worst thing for Major League Baseball. Let's talk about some of the things that this lockout is that we're going to be looking for, the player side versus the owners. I'll start off with the players, because and I'm typically a person that's going to side with the players, and I'm also going to make an opinion change on something when it comes to the owners, and I'll get to that when we get to the owners. A little fun fact about is the average salaries of players have gone down the last few years. Obviously, the big time stars are going to continue to get paid their money, but I'm talking the platoon guys, or just the average guys. Now, I'm not talking about the Mike Trouts or the Mookie Betts in the world. I'm talking about guys like Roberto Perez. I'm talking about guys like just whoever you want to mention. That's not the greatest of guys, but he's a solid guy. And the owners, it seems like nowadays, they're not really trying to compete to win. They're not spending money. You look at, and I pulled this up too. Let me pull this up real quick. Let's go to, give me 1 second. Okay. I have this pulled up here. This was this year's payroll. Or, the 2021 payroll. Look at some of these teams right here that are up here that are spending the money. Dodgers, we all know they're all going to spend. The Yankees, we know they're going to spend. The New York Mets, they had a down year, but they're willing to spend. They got new ownership and they're proving a point. The Astros, they're going to spend, but obviously they made the World Series. The Phillies, they're willing to spend too. They haven't really done much this year so far, if I'm not mistaken, but they're trying to compete. Boston, they're going to compete. The Angels, and it's not necessarily the smartest thing in the world to just spend willy-nilly, but you need to prove that you could spend. And I'll get to your comment here in a second, Hunter. I see it. And then, but here's the issue. Okay, so you see league average, $127 million. The issue that I have, and don't mind this just because this is not, but this right here, this is an issue. You're meaning to tell me that Baltimore only has a $42 million payroll? The Cleveland, at the time, Indians, now Cleveland Guardians, could only dish out a $50 million payroll? The Pittsburgh Pirates, $54 million? Now, yes, what you see right here with the Tampa Bay Rays, they were able to make the playoffs and they were smart with things, although they just gave, I forget who it was, a big contract as well. So they're a, quote, smaller market team that's willing to spend. The Tigers are starting to pay, or they're starting to go a little bit as well. But I think part of the issue with all this is you need to have a salary cap floor, or a salary floor. I'm sorry, and this is where my opinion changes on things. I'll go back to full screen for a second. If you're an owner of a Major League Baseball team, I used to say the small market is an issue, blah blah. Hell no, I've changed my mind on that. You're a billionaire. There's a reason why you own a baseball team. If you can't dish out $100 million payroll to try to compete to win, then either for those owners that are crying out poor, saying that we can't afford anything, either open up the books and prove it, or sell the damn team to another owner, to another billionaire, because there's plenty of them that's willing to spend. Let's get to your comments, Hunter. I see the players want to be paid earlier in their careers, and that's something else I agree with that we're going to get into. By the time they get up through the minors, get through the first 3 years in arbitration, some of these players are old. I'll get to that comment right, because that's something I actually have written down here. It takes 6 years of service time. For those that don't understand the free agent part of Major League Baseball, you have to have 6 years of service time to become a free agent in Major League Baseball. But the issue is some of the owners have been manipulating things, and they did that here in Cleveland with Mike Clevenger. They'll find a way to manipulate you to where they can really have you for 7 years. That you have 7 years of time with that team. And then what you just said, the owners are not willing to pay as much for 30-year-olds. And there are some guys where by the time you are a free agent, you are 30 years old, and now you're screwed because you can't necessarily get paid because the owners are not willing to pay for those. They want to experience free agency before they get too old because they want the opportunity to get these big contracts. Not everyone is Bryce Harper or Manny Machado. Again, there you go. I agree. Now, how do you handle? Do you handle the service time? Does that change a little bit? Do you shorten that? Is there something that you could do with the minor league where you can maybe try to have a speed up process to try to get these guys up? Because again, it's not guys like Ronald Acuna, guys like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. who could come up very early, and then by the time you do get and I understand Ronald Acuna got paid already. But a guy like Vladimir Guerrero, where he came up at 20, 21 years old, and by the time he has that service time, he's going to be 26, 27. He's still going to be in his prime of his career. Meaning they get called up at an early age so they could go to free agency at 25 or 26. There you go. That's something I just said. Most of these big-name players don't get to experience free agency until they're 27, 28, 29. 29 years old and towards the back end of their prime, so they won't get these lucrative deals. Yes, I agree with that 100% on all of what you just said. And I think part of the issue too is, again, you need to speed up the process of the service time, whether you cut it to maybe 4 years of service time, because and it's very weird on how Major League Baseball is. It's not just like, this is your rookie year, like how it is with baseball or with football and basketball. This is your rookie year, your second year, and you could keep track of that. It becomes very confusing. And I think something that really needs to be implemented, and is this something that the owners are going to be willing to do? I don't know. I really don't see them wanting to do this because it's going to involve them having to actually spend money, is a salary floor. There's no reason, I mentioned this once already, I'll mention it again, there's no reason why an MLB owner should not have a payroll of under $100 million. I mean, the Indians a few years ago, Guardians, I apologize, in 2017 had a $120 million payroll, and we thought it was like $1 billion here in Cleveland. And you're like, oh my God, we're actually spending this much? I mean, you can't have that. Because what it does too is it takes away tanking, which is another bad thing for baseball as well. And baseball's already a very regional sport. It's the most regional sport out of the big three here in America with baseball, football, basketball. You want to, and part of what's helping is the fact that you have markets like New York, you have markets like LA, you have markets like Chicago, the big markets. Those fan bases, they love baseball. Hell, even St. Louis, they love their Cardinals. You can't just have teams we can't spend this much. Stop it. Stop acting and stop crying poor. Either start dishing out the dough to have a competitive baseball team or sell the team. Simple as that. I'm sorry, I'm not going to feel bad for a billionaire with a B. These players basically want money earlier and to increase the minimum salary and increase the minimum of the luxury tax. Also decreasing arbitration from 3 years to 2 so they can hit free agency earlier. And there you go again. I agree with that as well. And you know what? And not a lot of, I know Hunter, you know this, but a lot of people don't understand that there actually is a salary cap when it comes to baseball. It's just a soft salary cap. And if I'm not mistaken, the Dodgers are the only one this year that hit that or hit above that. So you get into the luxury tax. Owners basically said that they'll put in a salary floor of $100 million, but they want to lower the luxury tax from $210 to $180. And the players had a fit about it. Basically, it's a slap in the face. Yeah, the owners are... They're trying to play victim here. But the issue is the owners are not wanting to change anything because, let's be honest, they've been kicking the players' ass in the last 2 negotiations. And the players are not... They're tired of it. They're fighting for what they want. They're fighting for what they deserve. Because at the end of the day, it's the players that are going out there to play. They're the ones that are going out there. And the reason why you go and spend the money on the merchandise. They're the reason why you go to the games, spend money at the concession stand. They're the reason why you go and buy those jerseys. They're the ones that are bringing out the product. And then you get owners that are just crying out poor. Stop it. And that's the issue. And another thing, too, I need to get into with this as well. I don't want to hear a damn word out of Rob Manfred. I don't want to hear a damn word out of Tony Clark, the president of the Players Association. I don't want to hear a damn word about either of them or anything they have to say. Because Rob Manfred said today something about, the owners offered a proposal and this could have been prevented. Stop it! You guys did that because the owners there was no benefit to the players at all. And it's going to be the same thing for Tony Clark. And I'm more of on the player side as well. But I still don't want to hear any of the propaganda that Tony Clark's got to say. Rob Manfred, he needs to go. And then you look at what happened with the '94 lockout, with the worker stoppage. You lost a lot of fans with that. I understand I wasn't born during that time. I wasn't alive. Hunter wasn't alive at that time. But we still know from what we've heard from people that were around, that were baseball fans around that time, that you lost a lot of fans at that time. Let's go back to the history of what's gone on with baseball the last 5 or so years. 2016, the Chicago Cubs, one of the most storied franchises, they end their 108-year drought in the World Series. That's phenomenal for baseball. Great. 2017, the Houston Astros have their trash can scandal. They get caught cheating. 2018, the same, even more kind of cheating with the Boston Red Sox. 2019, you're still dealing with those things, but the Nationals, they win the World Series. All right, cool, that's no issue. Everyone is rooting against, or everyone is hoping that Washington can win, and they go out and win. Cool. And then you look at how things were handled in 2020 with the COVID year, with the pandemic year, and how I remember at one point in time I had made a Facebook post saying it seemed like millionaires and billionaires are arguing over millions. I mean, at the end of the day, the owners, again, are crying out poor, and they're being very stingy, and yes, they're greedy. There's a reason why they became billionaires in the first place. But they're just... some of the things that they're doing is just absolutely ridiculous. Correct. The owners don't want to change anything because everything is working out perfectly for them. They're getting all the money plus all the TV deals and benefiting them massively. Yes, that's another thing too, is let's not act like that these TV deals that are coming regionally are not lucrative as hell. These owners are acting like victims, and I'm not sitting here saying that the players are complete saints here. I'm not acting like that, and part of this issue is going to be on the players. I blame majority of this on the owners and how greedy they're going to be. And the issue is, this is the worst thing that can happen for baseball because you're already, let's be honest, in a dwindling era of viewers. Well, actually, in terms of the fandom, the way that you guys handle certain things, the way of trying to grow this, the younger generation of fan, where you guys, excuse me, I need to get me a drink real quick. Holy hell, I've been talking for a while. The way that they don't promote their players, the star players. I mean, you want to have a test on this? Go to a person that doesn't know sports. They don't watch sports. They don't care about
Velvety
sports.
feel, exquisite
I apologize
colors,
for that.
stunning scale. At Staples, we
Hold
sweat
on,
the
I apologize
details
about
and
that.
quality of every.
Something just randomly started playing here. I apologize here. Let me get off that. But go and ask those people. You know who LeBron James is, right? Yeah. You know who Steph Curry. Do they know who Steph Curry is? Most likely, yeah. Do you know who Tom Brady is? Yeah. Do you know who Patrick Mahomes is? Yeah. Do you know who Mike Trout is? Probably not. So you're meaning to tell me that there's not a way to promote a player that could go down as the greatest player of all time? There's not a way to promote a guy like Shohei Ohtani, who what he just did this year is absolutely incredible, and I will give Hunter his credit because he did call that at the beginning of the year, saying that he would win MVP this year. I will give him his credit. There's not a way to do that. You want to grow your fan base, but yet again you have all these blackouts where, I'm here in Cleveland, but I want to watch the Texas Rangers. Nope, sorry. There's a whole lot that needs to change when it comes to Major League Baseball. Shut up, Parker. But yeah, there are huge issues when it comes to Major League Baseball, and if this continues on, and here real quick, I do want to say, here's something that Ron Manfred said that really ticked me off. He talked about today, small market teams can't afford to compete. No. Is it that they can't afford to compete, or is it they're unwilling to compete? Goes back to those the payrolls that we saw. You can't. There's no way for them to compete. Yeah, there's no way to compete when you're only going to put out a $50 million payroll. Do you want to? Here's the thing, though. The owners think that we have to start coming out to the games for them to start spending money. No, that's not the case. Do you really? And yes, there's die-hard baseball fans that are always going to support the game of baseball regardless. But you're not worried about that fan base. You need to be worrying about trying to grow the future generation. Parker, for an example, he's a younger kid. You need to try to attract guys like, he's a big baseball fan himself. But you need to attract that generation. You need to still try to attract my generation. I'm 22 years old. Hunter is 19 or 20. Tanking. Good point here too, and that's something I think I mentioned here also earlier. But you need to try to grow that generation. Not worry about also the older generation, the 50-plus-year-old generation. Worry about the younger generation. Try to grow them. That's what something that the National Football League is doing. That is what the NBA is doing. Why do you think they're continuing to grow every year? Because they're focusing on getting new fans. They're going to support the NFL. They're going to support the NBA for years and years to come. Tanking is also an issue. tanking in baseball is very common. That's why the players proposed a way to switch up the draft order and how it's determined. Yeah, the players also, they don't like the way that the draft works. It's so confusing. I mean, we talk about different drafts. You talk about the the NFL draft. The NFL draft is an absolute huge deal. Once the NFL season is over, there's gonna be a whole lot of discussion about players coming up in this draft. The NBA draft is a big deal as well. You'll start to see a lot of discussions. The MLB draft, unless you're a die-hard baseball fan, most people do not give a damn. And that is an issue. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you guys did enjoy. Again, I hope you guys did enjoy your Thanksgiving as well. If you haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button, hit the red subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live each and every Thursday at 6 p.m. You also know when we post reaction videos. We've been doing a lot of those here on the channel. We do appreciate the support a ton. Until then, next week's going to be a huge show because you have the Pittsburgh Steelers going on Thursday Night Football. So it's going to be absolutely huge for that. Hope to see you then. And once again, have a great weekend. Stay safe. We're almost to Friday. Peace out.